Hello, welcome back. I'm Tonya from Tonya's Witchy Kitchen, and how are you doing today? It's a cold and rainy day. Like, I could just make some hot apple cider and put on my favorite blue sweater and my yoga pants and just crawl under a blanket and read all day. It is. It's just that damp cold, and which is so odd for August. We should just be super hot and dry and weird year, yeah, you guys. It's a weird year. But anyway, this is a different. It's not Tonya's Witchy Kitchen Tea Time. It's not Life with Spice. But I am bringing you an herb that is just fantastic. Okay, it's not an herb. It's a plant. It's a weed, you guys. It's a weed. It's another yellow weed. We start the season with dandelions. We end with gumweed or Grindelia. So I'm not going to sit at my table and give you the notes. It's just a very short, quick rundown and then to the video. Okay? You can handle it. You can handle it. You can do this. Okay. But yeah, we're talking about gumweed and Grindelia robusta. We use the leaves and the flowers. Leaves can sometimes have the sticky residue on them. Ours, yeah, they're sticky, but I guess I don't usually pick the leaves off. I guess I should. It's picked in hot weather, the end of summer, without the stems, and I will show you some pictures. I have so much fun picking this, and it seems to spread very quickly if you don't cut it with your lawnmower. And my husband was like, "Well, I didn't cut that patch," because I'm like, "God, that patch has grown." And he goes, "Well, I didn't cut it." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, I thought you needed it." And I'm like, "Oh, heck no. This is in the middle of Goatville and Chickenville and Dogville. No, no, no. We don't pick those. I could now, like after all this rain, I actually could, because it's definitely been a solid couple days of steady rain, and it would be washing off all the unmentionables that are on those plants. But you know the rules. Not where the animals are, not by the roadside. Okay. Yes. So, it is warming, aromatic, antiseptic, and expectorant. And I have a story to tell you about that. The controversy is whether to use it fresh, and then you can freeze it, like pick it fresh, freeze it, and then use it, or use it fresh, or dried. I've done dried, and I had stellar results. Stellar. Making Plant Medicine, his book is stellar. So much information. And when you read it, actually read his stories in there and stuff like that, you realize he knows what he's talking about. But there are a lot of people on the web who choose to use it fresh. And we are going to use a fresh tincture. I'll talk about that in a minute. Today, just to see how it works. But there's a lot of different components there. But in his book, for a tincture, it's 1 to 5 with 100% alcohol of those leaves and the gummy resin buds. Okay? When I say 1 to 5, that means for every 1 gram weighed of flowers, you would take that, you would add 5 milliliters by volume, measuring cup, okay, of alcohol to it. No water, no glycerin. It doesn't work. You need the alcohol. That's the controversy. You'll see. He does freeze them and then grind them. I don't do that. That was a pain in the butt. I'm not going to try and get that crap off my blender or my spice grinder. I literally did it as dried them on I actually dried them on plastic pail covers. Okay, the plastic, because it's easier to get off of than a screen or something, and I would just rotate them every day. And it does take a while to dry them out totally, but where's the resin going? It's kind of like cottonwood buds. Where's the resin going? It stays there. It doesn't come off. You know, so I'm with him. I agree with him on this. I just let it steep a little longer, okay? Because, you know, they're steeping in 6 to 8 weeks or whatever. I just, 3 to 4 months. If I don't need it, it can steep. It's dry matter. It's alcohol, right? Okay. Anyway, in his book of Making Plant Medicine, he says it relaxes and tonifies the mucous membranes of the upper respiratory tract, specifically used for treatment of chronic asthma and emphysema. And I was kind of blown away by this because, of course, my son has asthma. So does my daughter have asthma. So it hooked me a couple years ago when I saw it growing in our yard. I don't know where it came from. Okay, we actually live in a pasture. The main grass, whatever, is pasture. Okay, so there's always, one of this or two of this popping up, and it just does. But anyway, if you make the tincture topically, you can use it for bites and stings and rashes like poison ivy or poison oak. It's pain relieving, drying, protective, and healing. It can be used medicinally in soap. I haven't tried it yet, you guys. I haven't tried it. I really want to. And, maybe coming up, we will use the gumweed in a soap, which would be so simple to do. I don't know the medicinal properties. Oh, duh. Probably the rashes and the bites and the stings. If you have poison oak, I'm pretty sure the oatmeal monkey sock I made for my daughter isn't that soothing in the bathtub. But this could be. So, jot that down on your calendar to look for a gumweed resin soap. Okay. Large doses internally can cause gastric or kidney irritation in predisposed individuals. Meaning, if you have kidney or gastric problems, if you take this in large doses, and a dose, like a regular medicinal dose, I think is just a dropper full, 30 drops. There's no real regulation, no major, it's not a low dose weed, because some weeds are considered low dose weeds. Okay. So my stories. We are actually doing, you can print your own off, this was Grindelia Respiratory Elixir by Lisa Ganora. It's on Herbs with Rosalie. I'll post the link below, don't worry. It uses honey. Honey's the first infusion, and then when you're done infusing it in honey, which it smells so good, if you like that resinous, planty earth smell, then you tincture it with the alcohol. Because she must believe you get those benefits. Well, you got to get the benefits in the honey. If you're getting that smell, absolutely. But you soak it in water and it's just disgusting. Yeah, it doesn't come off. So maybe the honey has other components that work. See what I'm saying? Okay, but anyway, so I made this honey. And my son has asthma, and it has been kicking his butt like no tomorrow this last fall. Horrible, 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 okay? And the other day, actually, I told him, I said, because he's like, I just feel congested and all this. And I'm like, why don't you take there's some honey in the fridge. Store it in the fridge. I said, there's some honey in the fridge. I said, why don't you try that? I said, either put it in a hot water. I drink hot water and honey all the time. I said, or just, eat it. Whatever, whichever preference you do. Okay? As an expectorant, hello. I don't think it was even 45 minutes to an hour later. And he is like coughing up loogies. Like, it was crazy. He's just, and spit them out. And I'm like, whoa, it worked. Seems to work as an expectorant for sure. And he actually took some more that night. So I'll read you her recommendations. The second story I have about this is my original tincture that I made a few years ago, with just the 1 to 5, buds with alcohol. And I will tell you, sometimes if I feel the alcohol isn't enough in there, like I don't have a tincture press, right? I will just top it off to cover, which I think is what she does. But, fill a jar, you know how you do it, half to 3/4 full, and then half full, and then top it off with all the alcohol. Okay, it was a very dark tincture, which my one now isn't doing. So it's really kind of funny, you guys. I'm just saying. But so this last summer, my husband kept complaining about his lungs, and so I was like, well, I have this tincture, it's supposed to help for your lungs. And he was taking it, and he was like, he felt so good. And then when we left for a week, I don't know if it was Wyoming, or maybe it was Wyoming, that was the first one. And he was like, he came back and he's like, oh my gosh, I just feel like crap. And he did get sick. If you remember, he did get really sick in Wyoming. And he went back to taking the tincture. And in realizing, sometimes we aren't very observant, of our spouses. I knew he smokes, and I knew he had changed brands just because these were a little cheaper than his other ones. Not a whole lot. Cigarettes are just ridiculous. Don't smoke. Or try and stop. But he, my voodoo doctor had told him that what he was smoking was fine. The original brand. I don't know. It's how he tests it. Okay. It's the American Spirit brand, if you want to know. I'm not going to tell you the crap brand that he was using or he changed to. And then when in discussing his smoking habits with our voodoo doctor, because we've all been complaining, like he smells funny, he stinks, his clothes reek, the smoke itself just reeks. It hangs in the tractor, and he's not supposed to smoke on the tractor because my boys use it. And things like that. And and then we were talking to the voodoo doctor behind his back, and he's like, oh no, like, no, he can't smoke those. No, they're bad. They're filled with all this other stuff. He's like, no, if he's gonna smoke, he has to smoke those American Spirits, or roll his own, which won't do. My brothers all do that. They buy their own tobacco, roll their own cigarettes. It's a thing. But so I told him that, and he's like, oh my gosh, right? And he had still been taking the tincture, but once he switched back over to the other ones, it didn't seem to be very long, and he quit taking it. And sometimes you gotta listen to your body. But I just thought that was fascinating, and I'm like, that's why you needed the tincture, because you switched brands. You went to this crap brand that has the cyanide and the rat poison and the tar and all this shit in there. Sorry, excuse my language. I hate smoking. A lot of people do it in my family, so it's okay. But it's got all the crap in there that makes you addicted and makes you sick. Anyway, I thought it was very interesting that he stopped taking the tincture. He's like, I don't need it. And it's like, it's those damn cigarettes. Yeah. But anyway, those are my stories, my testimonies, if you would. What do you say? What do you do? What do you do? What do you say? Right? But anyway, let's go to the kitchen, and we're going to start making this respiratory elixir. But like I said, the tincture, just the regular 1 to 5 with 100% alcohol. The 100% alcohol doesn't mean like Eva Clear, although that would work really well. It, like 100 proof. It just means usually it's 50 alcohol, 50 water percent, okay, or 75-20. There's always a percent of what you're putting in there. This is just pure alcohol. Vodka works fine. Okay, but anyway, 3 things. Dream big. Be true to you. You are so worth it. Let's go to the kitchen and do this gumweed respiratory elixir. This is a perfect example of a gumweed plant. You gotta watch, there's some other plants in between, but you can see, oh, maybe you can't, like, this is just a sticky residue right now. It's crazy. And then these are the flower heads that come with it. This weed is so sticky, like you want to use the same bucket, the same scissors, the same everything to harvest and then clean everything up. So to start, we want to have the same amount. I had to measure, by volume, how much gumweed I had. So I had about a cup. And so you want about 2 cups of honey for the 1 cup of gumweed. Okay, 1-to-2 ratio. This is actually honey. This was my first year's honey. It's a little softer than my other one, but yeah, whatever. It's fine. And we're going to put this in a glass dish, and we're actually going to put it in like the crock pot, okay? After I'm done measuring out all my honey. Because what happens is we're going to strain this. So we're going to start with 2 cups of honey. We're going to end up with about 1.5 cups of honey once it's strained, okay? So make sure everything is clean. Wash everything first. I mean, that's just a thing, right? I mean, I know they teach that in school prep, food prep, or whatever at school, but it's a thing, guys. It's a thing. So on my crock pot, I'm going to, put my cloth, put the water in there, and then this is my setup for this to melt my honey in the crock pot. I need to get the honey itself to about 130 degrees, okay? So you can just check it every 15-20 minutes and give it a good mix. Okay, maybe every half hour. It's at 1, where are we at? 112. Okay, 112. So we're not there yet. I need to get it to 130 and then hold it there, which is really hard to do, for 4 to 6 hours or however long you can do it. But you can smell the gumweed. You can smell that resinous, herby, green, smell. And it is, there we are, 134. So we're going to keep it there. So if it gets too warm, if it starts inching to 140, I need to shut my crock pot off. Okay? I don't want it over 140. Wipe the lid off. Every time you mix, wipe the lid off so it doesn't drip into the honey. But it's going to be really fragrant and just, it's such a crazy smell. But anyway, once it's done infusing, while it's still warm, because that's what's going to make the honey easier to strain through, don't strain it through the cheesecloth. It sucks. It literally took forever to strain through. But I didn't have any bugs then. And believe me, bugs, worms, they get stuck on that, and yeah, it's sticky. I use my coffee scrub bar to get it off of everything. It works great. But yeah, so slow to strain through. If you have a really fine strainer, use that instead, okay? So the next thing is to strain your honey into a clean jar. We're going to store that in the fridge, okay, guys? In the fridge. So then what you're going to do is take the honey, what you just strained out, okay, all those buds, and put them in another clean jar, okay? I could have licked my fingers. I would have had a honey high. And then we're going to add alcohol, vodka, high proof, or another high proof alcohol of your choice, just to really pull out that resin from the plant matter. And don't forget wax paper in a plastic lid or wax paper in your metal lid, because it is alcohol. Shake it up, shake it up, shake it up for 4 to 6 weeks. Shake it daily, leave it on the counter. And when you think it's been infused enough, then we strain it. Now, there is going to be sediment on the bottom. So when you strain it once, let it sit for a few days and strain off the top and leave the sediment in the bottom. Okay, that's just how it is. You got to do it. But to make our respiratory elixir, we are going to add equal amounts of our alcohol tincture and our honey tincture. And I'm just making a little bit of this so I can put it into my tincture bottle so my son takes it. So we're just starting off with a small amount. Yeah, not even an ounce, which is funny. I don't know. Maybe I weighed it wrong. Whatever. Equal amounts, guys. Equal amounts. It's going to take a little bit for that honey to incorporate with the alcohol. It will eventually do so, even if your honey crystallizes. Just I shook it, every once in a while. Mixed it first, and then give it a good shake, and it will eventually incorporate into the alcohol. Okay. These are so pretty. So pretty. This is why I don't pick by the chickens. So the oil basically is just the dry buds in a jar, as you can see, and cover them with, I chose olive oil because it's a very stable and has a good shelf life. And then I put it in my little crock pot and I steeped it all day long. I tried to get it on high, as high as I could. I think it was like maybe 130, 140 the whole time, and just to try and get that resin to release from the plants, or that sticky stuff. I don't know. I call it resin. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, whether you leave it steep 4 to 6 weeks or do the crock pot method, you need to strain it. And I double cheesecloth this because there were little bugs in there. We get some of those canola beetles some years, and yeah, so that's just how it is. But you just need to strain it really good, squeeze it out, and you'll have your oil. They're so pretty, aren't they? The bees were buzzing on them, and they're just beautiful. But anyway, here is our gumweed honey. Here is our gumweed tincture that we did. I just shook it, that's why it's cloudy. Here is the overall gumweed honey and alcohol tincture mix. And here's my beautiful, beautiful oil. And just some beautiful flowers in full bloom. The bees love them. But I hope you had a good time. Thank you for dropping by, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.